The year is 1904. In the industrial heart of Philadelphia, the air is thick with the smoke from the coal being used in factories and locomotives. A perpetual crime settles over the city. While most people accepted this as the price of progress, Frank Schumann refused to compromise. An inventor by nature, he had already made a small fortune by strengthening glass with wires, making windows safe for schools and prisons. But he was haunted by the inescapable smoke, convinced that there had to be a better way. What if, he wondered, we could skip the coal altogether? What if we could run the world's machinery on the endless clean energy of the sun? He built a laboratory at his home and he was working on what he called a sun engine. His plan was simple. He was going to use mirrors to concentrate sunlight, boil a liquid, and create steam to drive an engine. By 1910, Schumann had refined the concept to the point where he could run a small toy train on a vaporized ether. But Schumann dreamed bigger, much, much bigger. His ambition soon found its stage: the cotton fields of Egypt. British occupiers there faced a dilemma. Irrigating vast fields was backbreaking by hand, and coal engines were costly. Schumann saw an opportunity. In 1913, he assembled a dazzling spectacle on the banks of the Nile. Long, gleaming rows of trough-shaped mirrors, all focusing the desert sun onto boilers. A crowd gathered, sipping champagne under parasols, to watch as, with a quiet hiss of steam, a 75 horsepower engine, fueled by nothing but light, began pumping thousands of gallons of water from the river. It worked. Among the crowd was Lord Kitchener, the British military leader who brought Sudan under the control of the British Empire in the 1890s. He saw Schumann's invention as integral to his program of infrastructural improvement of Egypt. Kitchener offered him a 30,000-acre cotton plantation in Sudan to replicate the engine. In that moment, the future seemed bright. Schumann wrote that vast solar plants, each with thousands of horsepower, were not just possible, but necessary. He issued a prophetic warning. Humanity must finally use the sun's power, or revert to barbarism. The early 18th century had been full of coal yards, oil refineries, and cheap fossil fuels. So, for Schumann to imagine the end of this resource was far ahead of its time. But history had other plans. World War I erupted, and vast, cheap oil reserves were discovered in the Middle East. The world, entranced by liquid fossil fuels, turned away from the sun. Frank Schumann died in 1918, his vision fading like a sunset. And what a vision it was! As early as 1911, he had predicted the kind of vast solar farms we see today in a publication in the Scientific American.
A sun power plant, in order to be practicable, must possess, first, high efficiency, low cost of installation and maintenance, well-marked length of service, and should not require specially trained mechanics for its operation. It is entirely practicable to produce a sun power plant in this manner up to 10,000 horsepower and over. An ideal plant must be subject to little accident. Hence, it must lie near the ground in order not to be affected by storms and winds. Each unit must be repairable without stopping the operation. Construction must be simple and easily understood by the ordinary steam engineer, and wear and tear must be reduced to a minimum.
His dream lay dormant for decades, a curious footnote, until the oil crisis of the 1970s shocked the world. Suddenly, the search was on again, and in 1984, in California's Mojave Desert, the first large-scale solar thermal plant finally opened. Its concept eerily similar to Schumann's design from 7 decades prior. Today, we stand at the tipping point he imagined. Fossil fuel energy production is reaching its peak, and in Egypt, Not far from where Schumann staged his demonstration, a new solar park sprawls over 37 square kilometers. So vast, it can be seen from space. It is the fourth largest in the world. Frank Schumann never saw his sun-powered world. But a century later, as our mirrors finally turn to the sky in earnest, we are building the future he saw so clearly, not as a novelty, but as a necessity. If you enjoyed this video and want to watch more, like and share this video and subscribe to Just Learning's YouTube.